Good evening. Welcome to the regular Lewiston City Council meeting of March 10th, 2014. We'll call this meeting to order. First order of business is we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mayor Pro Tem R.J. Johnson.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next up on the agenda is citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the City Council on agenda items or other items they wish to bring to the attention of the Council. Citizens are encouraged to discuss operational issues in advance with the City Manager. In consideration of others wishing to speak, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. If there's anybody here that wishes to testify on the public hearing, which is under public hearings and presentations, I just ask maybe instead of at this time, wait until we have the public hearing. So that being said, do we have any citizen comments this evening? Name and address for the record.
Chris Davies, Public Works Director for the City of Lewiston. Mayor, City Council, and City Manager, this is just to provide you an update on Well 6 and where we are with it. Excuse me. Currently, our water plant is meeting our demand, both for water and turbidity, so we're doing very well on that aspect. But we're also preparing Well 3 and Well 4 to bring it online if need be, if demand increases above what we're doing now. And right now our demand is roughly around 1.5 million gallons a day. So if that demand increases or the current turbidity increases, we may end up bringing those wells online to help offset the turbidity in the river. Well 6, the pumps and motors have been pulled. They were pulled on March 5th. They have been inspected as far as we could at this point. They've been shipped off to Texas and Wyoming. And what it looks like at this point is the motors are okay, but they still, I'm sorry, the pumps are okay. They appear to be okay. They are going to be broken down and inspected in Texas, and if they are okay, they'll be shipped to Casper, Wyoming, to be reassembled again with the motors. The first motor was okay. The second motor, it turns, but it is does not turn easily, so it'll have to be broken down and inspected, and that's where we think the failure is. And if it is, currently we feel that'll be under warranty, and we should be okay from that aspect from GE Oil and Gas. Bottom line is, best case scenario is it is under warranty, and they do have motors and seals in stock for this, for what we need, and the equipment would be back in Lewiston by the end of this week, and we should be back online within 2 weeks, if all goes well.
Okay.
And I do have a memo prepared. I just finished it. I know we'll send it out in an email to the City Council and to the City Manager.
Okay.
For your records.
Thank you, Mr. Davies.
You're welcome.
It's good news. Okay. Any other citizen comments? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hello, I'm Adam McIntosh, 1522 Alder Avenue, Lewiston. I'm the president of the Lewiston Pistol Club. We received, about 3 weeks ago, a letter from the City Police Department giving us notice of eviction from the indoor range. We're obviously not happy about this and wanted to get this on the agenda so we can kind of discuss it amongst the City Council. And my question on it was, the original agreement was between the mayor and the city clerk, and I was under the impression that it'd be the city, that's who would be, giving us the notice of eviction. So I'm kind of curious about that and if that was done properly. And anyways, I'd like to get it on the agenda and go from there. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is John Murray. I live at 3118 Clemens Road. I'm a member of the Lewiston Pistol Club. Mayor Kleberg, council members, members of the public, I would like to share a little history with you about the Lewiston Pistol Club. This history was documented in an interview with Mr. Warren Cloninger, who lives at 3415 11th Street in Lewiston. Mr. Cloninger is a veteran of the Korean War. He's a longtime city resident. He's an honorary member of our club. I mean, he's been in the club since 1955. He's a former contributor to the Lewiston newspaper. He used to write a column like every 2 weeks about the club and shooting events. Warren would be here tonight, this evening, but he's disabled, and I talked to him, and he felt like he just couldn't make it. So I'm relaying the history that he passed on to me. The Lewiston Pistol Club was formerly part of the old Rifle and Pistol Club in Lewiston. It was established in the 1930s. In the 1960s and early 1970s, the club had an indoor shooting range located near the intersection of Snake River Avenue and 16th Avenue. The old range was founded and built by the Lewiston Rifle Pistol Club. The land and vacant land, the land and the vacant building were leased by the club from the city. The club remodeled the building, hauled in steel armor plate, which came off a ship from Portland, Oregon. It was 26 feet long, 12 foot wide, and they made a range. The Lewiston Police Department used our old indoor range for training, police cadets, and for firearms training after the range was completed. Neither the police department nor the city had any part in building that old range. The new indoor range and training center was completed at 2419 16th Avenue in March of 1974. It was financed with mitigation monies from the Army Corps of Engineers to replace the old rifle pistol range and the land. The new indoor range and training facility was built for both the Lewiston Pistol Club and the Lewiston Police Department. We, the Pistol Club members, would still be shooting in our old range if Lower Granite Dam was not built. Therefore, I humbly ask you to continue our agreement, our use agreement, Resolution 8395 in perpetuity for the new range on 16th Avenue. And I'd like to mention, too, it is my thinking that if the club had not have built that range, the old range, we wouldn't have the new range and training facility we have today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Lonnie Doctor, 934 Airway Avenue. In the same matter, I have questions on why the Lewiston Police Department wants us out by the beginning of April. It seems to me their first step in the process is our removal. Are there not other preliminary steps to be taken for their planned remodel of the building on 16th Ave into a storage facility, such as submitting cost estimates that may include fire protection if they're going to store evidence there, and also securing budget approval and a building permit. And possibly applying for available grant money. Thank you, Mayor and council members, public.
Thank you, sir.
Lewiston City Council, Mayor Kleberg. My name is Tom Neuenhaus, and my address is 6416 Cougar Ridge Drive, and I'm a member of the Lewiston Pistol Club also. My question to you tonight is, has the City Council looked at what has to be stored by the police department and how much storage space is needed? And have you looked for other storage spaces? And why not use other city property for storage or lease available property for storage? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mary Krempaski, 7561 Amberview Court. I'm not a member of the Pistol Club, but I have an interest in it because my husband is. And my question to you is, can the Lewiston Pistol Club be on the next work session agenda and have a stay on the eviction until the issues are resolved? Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Jim Sanderson. I live at 1409 Burrell Avenue. At least I did. I'm with the Lewiston Pistol Club, and I have a couple questions that I need to have answered or would like for you to think about. The very first one is, where does the Lewiston Police Department practice their small arms qualifications? I understand that right now they do have a range, an outdoor range under lease from the Potlatch Mill down there, which seems to me to be a little bit out of the way and not as accessible as the indoor range here in town. My next question would be, does the city council need to fund any monies for the remodeling of that shooting range up there on 16th if the police department does not have the funds in their operating budget? And if no funding is required, my next question would be, excuse me, what would happen to the equipment that's already up there as far as the targeting equipment and other things that might be there? And if funding is not available, does the Pistol Club, will they still have use of that indoor range until such time as decisions are made as to funding or closing of that range? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Any more citizen comments? Councilor Daniel.
Can we maybe get an update at our next meeting as far as what the options are, the cost for those options, and just maybe answer some of the questions that were brought up tonight?
Certainly, Chief Orr is here tonight, and this is a subject, of course, of great interest to him and to the department. We can certainly respond to the issues that were raised today and get that back to the council members to take a look at. So we'll put that together for you.
Okay.
Mr. Bennett, would there be enough available time in next week's work session to discuss this, or do you anticipate that being a full?
I would say that if the council wants to discuss it at the work session, we'll make it available so that you have time to do it.
Okay. Kind of see some nodding of heads. Councilor Blakey.
I have a question for City Attorney Pro Temp.
I wasn't supposed to answer questions.
I am a member of the Pistol Club. Do I need to exempt myself from any conversations going forward?
That would be appropriate.
Okay. Well, I think we're just seeing some nodding of heads. Maybe it's a discussion we could have at the March 17th work session after the presentation from URA. If that sounds reasonable.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, well, let's move on to public hearings and presentations. First item up is we have a proclamation celebrating Avista's 125th anniversary. That's my first proclamation. Proclamation, whereas Avista has deep roots in the region's history, beginning in 1889 with the incorporation of Washington Water Power in direct response to an increasing demand for electricity in the growing region, and innovation and award-winning accomplishments while providing a legacy of reliable service and partnerships for economic and community vitality are milestones throughout the company's long history, and the company continues to partner with and support community efforts, including being the title supporter of the Avista NAIA World Series at Lewis Clark State College since 2000, and Washington Water Power, which changed its name to Avista in 1999, has remained true to its principles and values of trust, innovation, and collaboration while evolving to meet customer needs. And therefore, the City Council of Lewiston do hereby recognize the important role that Avista plays every day in bringing the energy that is essential for our homes, schools, and businesses, and the ongoing support for community and economic vitality it has given since 1889, and proclaim the month of March 2014 as the beginning of a year-long celebration of Avista's 125th anniversary in the city of Lewiston. And I see we have Mr. Mike Tatko here to accept this proclamation. Mike, would you like to say a few words? You bet.
Thank you, Mayor Kleberg. Mike Tatko, Avista Utilities, 803 Main in Lewiston. And Thursday, March 13th, is actually our 125th, the marking of our 125th anniversary of, so March 13th, 1889, we became Avista in 1999 when obviously our service territory had expanded beyond just Washington. And now, of course, we're in Idaho and in Oregon as well. So I wanted to thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. We hope to, of course, be here for at least another 125 years, providing electricity to your homes. I think we try to be a good community partner. I think we have a really good working relationship with the city. Certainly, City Manager Bennett, and I see Mr. Davies from Public Works, and Chief of Police Orr had to step out, and Assistant Chief Michael Bust. We grew up in the same town, Travis and I did, so you hire good people. So wanted to thank you for that, and we look forward to continuing our excellent relationship with the city. And we thank you for this proclamation. We will frame it and display it proudly in our office. So thank you very much.
I'd like to add just recently that Avista's been very gracious in helping us out with some grants on the new lighting on Bryden Canyon Road down to the Southway Bridge. And for those of you that haven't drove it at night, I recommend you take a trip down there. It's been a very great energy savings project. Okay, moving on. We have a public hearing this evening. And this is a comprehensive plan, map, and zone change for application number ZC01-14 for 1028 17th Street and 1617 11th Avenue. The applicants are Gill and Nelms. This is a request to rezone the aforementioned two properties, which are adjacent to each other, from Normal Hill North to local commercial C1. The Planning and Zoning Commission has recommended approval of the rezone request, subject to an amendment to the land use map of the comprehensive plan to change the designation of the subject properties from higher density residential to commercial. Mr. Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. As the mayor indicated, this is a project to rezone properties located at the corner of 17th Street and 11th Avenue. There's a small neighborhood market that exists there right now. And has been there for many years. And my understanding is that they want to be able to rezone the property to commercial in order to include a house that's immediately to the west of that market to expand the overall operation of the Travel Mart and the commercial facility there. Do we have
Mr. Plaskin is here.
Yes, Mr. Plaskin is here. So can I invite you to come up, Joel?
Good evening. You've got quite a bit of information in your packet on this from the Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing. You've got the complete staff report, the application, some maps and the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes from their public hearing containing public testimony and their deliberations. Rather than go over the entirety of the staff report, I'd be happy to answer questions that you might have that are specific to that or to anything else about the application. But first, I guess I'd like to make sure that everyone is properly oriented for those people maybe who are not familiar with this application by going through and looking at some maps and some photographs. There are some photographs that I took of the property and the neighborhood that are not in your packets that were presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission, so they need to be part of your record, and I figured I'd rather show those to you in person rather than put them in your packets because the copying doesn't come out very well. And so if we could look at those now, that'd be probably the best thing to do. Just wanted to depict first a copy of the zoning layer on top of the GIS system. So this is an aerial photograph. North is up on this, and the different colors or shades that you see are the different zoning districts. The bolded area here in the center is the property that's up for consideration tonight. This is 17th Street. This is 11th Avenue. And this quadrant here is zoned R3. That's a medium density residential. This is zoned R2. That's primarily a single family and a duplex residential. This is Normal Hill South zoning district. And then just across 11th Avenue here, you've got the Normal Hill North zoning district. So subject property sets in the Normal Hill North zoning district, and this is the zoning map of that area. This is an aerial photograph. Again, it's the same aerial photograph without the zoning layer turned on, just helps you see a little bit more clearly. So I'd like to take advantage of this opportunity to point out this is the existing convenience store. There are a couple of gas pumps located right here. This is the parking lot. Part of the parking lot is asphalt, part of it's concrete. That's why you see the difference in coloration there. There's an alley that runs behind the store here. It dead ends right about at this location. The other part of this application includes a separate lot or a separate parcel, which is located right here. It's got a rental house on it at this time. It's up for sale. And the applicant is either in the process of buying or has just purchased it. And then there's another house located on the lot adjoining that here. This is a commercial operation here. This is a house here. You've got another commercial operation further to the north. Elementary school over here. Jennifer Junior High is over here. Miller Brothers Plumbing and Heating is over here. And the rest of the neighborhood is a combination of different densities of residential uses. I do want to point out, because it is very relevant to this application, that the property in question abuts two streets that have designations that are intended to accommodate commercial uses. 17th Street is a designated minor arterial street within the city's transportation plan, and 11th Avenue is a designated collector street. This is a photograph looking at the subject property. This is looking from south to north. So this is the front of the store. This is 17th Street. This is 11th Avenue in the foreground. Here's the canopy covering the gas pumps. Right now there's a fence and a retaining wall separating the commercial use from the rental house that's now also part of this application to rezone to commercial. It's another photograph just looking northwest. So again, you've got 11th Avenue in the foreground. It's just a little bit looking a little further to the west than the other photograph was. So this is the rental house that's also part of the rezone application. This is just a picture of 17th Street looking south up the hill. So the property, this is looking This is actually taken from the southwest corner of the street intersection, looking actually south-southeast. This is looking due north across 11th Avenue at the rental house, the westerly 1/3 of the property in question. So the gas pumps are over here. Here's the canopy. Here's the store. Here's the rental house. You can see the public notice sign for the public hearing. And then this is the boundary of the property being requested for rezoning. And this could be converted to residential. That's the recommendation. And then, so the commercial boundary would extend from here to here. This is looking due south across 11th Avenue. This is the driveway into Miller Brothers Plumbing and Heating. This is a residence across from the rental house that's part of the subject application. This is part of Jennifer Junior High School. This is also looking due south across 11th Avenue. This is just a little bit further to the east. So this is that same drive to Miller Brothers, and these are the two houses across the street from the subject property. This is looking due north. This is the canopy for the gas pumps on the subject property. This is the property line separating the commercial, the part of the property that's under consideration tonight that's already used for commercial, and then the other part of the property that's part of the application over here, that's the residential, the rental house, which they're also asking to rezone to commercial. This is looking pretty much down the same property line, but the other direction. So the property line's running here. This is the existing commercial use. This is the rental house that they want to rezone as well at the same time. This is a picture looking down the alley that I mentioned earlier. This is looking due east toward 17th Street, which runs this way. So this is an existing house that's behind the store now. This is a picture taken looking due west at the end of that alley that we were just talking about. So the property that's up for rezoning includes the property behind this fence right here. This is the backyard fence to the rental house that's part of the rezone application. I will also point out, and it says it in the staff report with a little bit more detail on the history, the easterly two-thirds of this property, which has the store and the gas pumps on it, was designated for commercial at some point in the past on the comprehensive plan map back in '89. And after they amended the comp plan map in '89 for commercial use of the property to accommodate the store that's there, which was there back in '89 as well, normally what they would have done was rezone the property, which is what's being requested and looked at tonight. But at that time, instead, they chose to amend the zoning code. So they left it zoned residential back in '89 and 1990. But they changed the text of the zoning code of the R3 zone. This property was zoned R3 back then, and instead of changing the map to a commercial zone, they changed the R3 zone to allow neighborhood commercial uses. Then over the course of time, the comp plan map and the zoning code were amended again, and now they're both back under residential designations for some reason that's unknown to staff at this particular time. So I wanted to point that out. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. You do have, in my mind, two separate actions tonight. The application that was received was for rezoning the properties, but it is important that the long-range plan, the comp plan, has them designated for high-density residential use. The commercial use is a higher intensity use. It's generally not appropriate to zone lands for a higher intensity land use than called for by the comp plan, and so that's why the Planning and Zoning Commission has recommended an amendment to the comp plan map first, in which case it would be clear that the rezone would be consistent with the comp plan. And so I guess you're asked for two separate actions, one to amend the comp plan map from higher density residential to commercial, and then the second action would be to rezone the properties from Normal Hill North zoning district to local commercial C1.
Any questions? Councilor Brandon.
In the Normal Hill Special Planning Area, which this is a part of, right? This is in that Normal Hill Special
It's within that overall neighborhood in the comprehensive
And it's
plan.
on the, well, it'd be called Normal Hill North.
Correct.
And within that area, how many other C1s are there?
I believe one.
Okay.
And it's also very small.
Yeah, and isn't it the intent of the special planning area to retain the residential environment?
One of the intents of the Normal Hill Special Planning Area, which is a very large neighborhood consisting of over 1,000 homes, is to retain and protect the existing residential, the historical pattern and the historical nature of Normal Hill. That is definitely one of the intents and purposes. Following the adoption of that special planning area in the comprehensive plan, there were there were three zoning initiatives that were pursued specific to major goals of that section of the comprehensive plan. One was to address issues related to zoning around the college, Lewis-Clark State College, where we are now, and St. Joe's Hospital campus areas. That was one of them. And we went through a zoning initiative and we established a new zoning district specific to that purpose. Another one was to address the residential, the rest of the residential neighborhood, which consolidated several residential zones to the Normal Hill North and the Normal Hill South zone. And then the third one was the Normal Hill Heritage, or it started out as historic, but then it converted to heritage and hasn't gotten back to the council, but it's still a work in progress at the Historic Preservation Commission. But to address the historical nature and historic building aspect of the neighborhood, and that's still in progress. Those were the three main goals.
Thank you.
Mr. Plaskin, the original staff recommendation, I briefly talked to you about it, so maybe you could address this. The original staff recommendation was pending consideration of any public testimony which may be received for the public hearing. Staff recommends approval of ZC 01-14, but only for that part of the subject property containing the existing convenience store addressed as 1028 17th.
Right, and that was without an amendment to the comprehensive plan map, and that was as kind of a compromise between the fact that the property's been commercially used for a long period of time. But I think that an expansion of that onto the adjoining property with the rental house on it would be validated with an amendment to the comp plan map to make the zoning consistent.
Okay. One other question. You're talking about the original 1989 comp plan, and I believe the last time we had an overhaul was in 1999.
Correct.
To the comp plan, so it wasn't addressed at that time, correct?
Not specifically that I'm aware of. I wasn't here at that time.
Yeah. That was before my time too, so.
But I have no, I'm unaware of any record of that being specifically addressed
Okay.
that way.
Any other questions from Mr. Plaskin? Thank you, Joel.
The applicant is
Stick
here
around.
tonight. Sure, I will.
We have the applicants here, I see. Is there anything you would wish to bring to the table, or is this the time to open the public hearing? Thank you. We'll open the public hearing.
Sukhjit Gill, on the neighborhood market right at 1028 17th Street.
Okay.
I'd just like to see it and go commercial to expand and make it easier for the public to get in and out and make the property use a little bit better than it is right now. So that's the reason why we want the neighbor house to actually open up the area where the gas pumps are going.
Okay.
So it's easier access and everything else. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Gill? Councilor Blakey?
Sir, is the intent to tear the rental house down and vacate that property and make it barren? Is that
At this time, it is not, but in the future, yeah, it could be, just to make it better flow of traffic and everything going through there.
Thank you, sir. Well, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak in favor of the applicant's application for the zone change and the comprehensive map plan amendment? Or opposed? Either? No, seeing no takers, I guess we'll, no point in rebuttal, Mr. Gill. I guess we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Mr. Plaskin, you have anything else to add? Okay. Well, councilors, we have two actions that we need to address. The first would be the comprehensive plan amendment to allow for the commercial C1 zone. And I guess I'd entertain a motion to approve or deny comprehensive plan amendment.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the comprehensive plan amendment.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Discussion? I'll just throw my 2 cents in. I got on the Planning and Zoning Commission in 2003, so that was 4 years after the last revision of the comprehensive plan. And of course, things like this do pop up, and I'm surprised that it's taken this long to get that piece of property, because it was the Mighty Mart for many, many years. I remember going down there on Christmas Day, because they were only a store open in town. You could buy something.
Be careful.
And you could go downstairs and you could buy a toy for your kid, because they had a toy store down there many years ago. But no, I think this probably fits in with what's going on in the neighborhood. There is commercial. Mr. Plaskin left out another business. There's actually just a block and a half, I guess, to the south is a golf cart service and sales business. So there's a fair amount of commercial right there. So anyways, I guess I could support it. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
My concern is there's only one other C1 section of property in that larger area, not immediate area. And the whole intent of that special planning area was to try to retain the residential character of that area. And I'm a little surprised that there isn't somebody from that planning group that helped push that through initially. But at any rate, that's my concern, and just because of that, I'll have to vote no on that
Okay, Councilor.
amendment.
Mr. Plaskin, if you would.
Mayor, Carrie had her hand.
Can you just second that motion? Thank you.
Okay, getting back to the different uses that are right there. Miller Brothers, that's not been, their zone hasn't been changed?
Correct.
And then on the corner, and I believe it's 10th and 17th, I'm trying to think what that is, real estate, or no, insurance office, isn't it?
Believe so.
Blue Shield. Bob?
Yes, it's region.
Bob,
It's a region.
Bob
It's a
Keller.
regent's office now. That's what.
Yeah. And that's not zoned?
Correct.
Okay, these must have all been done by conditional use then?
I didn't check those other ones.
I mean, it's obvious there's a fair amount of commercial right there.
Yeah, a lot of the commercial uses that exist in Normal Hill are non-conforming, which presents, like the one that we're dealing with tonight, it's actually a non-conforming use. So it presents problems for the property owners sometimes when it comes to selling the property or refinancing the property. A lot of the financial institutions don't like that status of non-conforming. But this particular property is on the corner of an arterial and a collector street, has historic commercial use, appears to be appropriate to zone it for the lowest intensity commercial use that we have in the local commercial zone.
Which is the C1. Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Plasko? Thanks, Joel. Okay, well, with that, I guess all in favor of amending the comprehensive plan under, I don't have the numbers here.
From commercial to, I mean, it's from residential.
R4 to C1.
No, that's just that's for the zoning. The comprehensive plan is from
Comprehensive plan
residential to
amendment.
commercial.
Thank you. To go to commercial. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries 6-1. On to the second issue, which this is the original, the zone change, ZCO 1-14, to change the zoning from high-density R4 residential to C1 commercial. We have a motion to approve or deny the application for the zone change.
I move that we approve the zone change.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? Mr. Plaskin?
Just to clarify for the record, I think we know what you meant, but the zone change is from Normal Hill North zoning district
Thank
to
you.
local commercial C1.
Okay, thank you. So I stand corrected. NHN to commercial C1. Any discussion? Those in favor? Oh, Councilor Randall.
And then one of my concerns about this change of zone is, many years ago, 21st Street was going to be a residential arterial street. And they gave a variance to Howard's Pizza. And when they did that, that opened up 21st Street for commercial development. And you know, of course, now you know the way it is now. And I have a feeling that if we start allowing little bits here, little bits there, we're going to end up with another 21st Street. Whether it's going up 17th or along 11th, I'm not sure, but most likely probably up 17th. And so that's one of the reasons I'm reluctant to vote in favor of a zone change.
Okay. Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the zone change, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries 6-1. Thank you, everybody. Okay, next up on the agenda is the consent agenda. I'd like to pull the 2000, or the 2/24/14 city council minutes. They need to be amended. There's a ton of typos in it. More than I wanted to deal with right now. Anybody wish to pull anything from the consent agenda? Move to active.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Blakey.
I'd like to remove item E and item F from the consent and move it to the active, please.
Okay. So item E and item F from the consent agenda will now be item C and D on the active agenda. Any other?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Randall.
I'd like to move item D.
D?
Yes,
As in
please.
dog? Okay. I'll move item D from the consent, and that will be item E to the active agenda. Any other corrections? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to read the consent agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Approving the city council meeting minutes of the February 22nd, 2014 special meeting. Accepting the minutes of the February 18th, 2014 Emergency Medical Services Advisory Board, February 12th, 2014 Planning and Zoning Commission, and the January 28th, 2014 Urban Forestry Cemetery Commission. Approving Resolution 2014-13 by title only. A resolution declaring Lucy the drug dog's retirement and transferring her case to her partner and providing an effective date. Approving the vouchers payable dated February 14th, 2014 through February 27th, 2014 in the amount of $939,813.72.
Councilors, the consent agenda has been read. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, moving on to the active agenda. First item of business is Resolution 2014-11. This is approving two agreements between the city and Latah Sanitation Incorporated for the provision of composting of biosolids and yard waste. We'll approve to read Resolution 2014-11.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Approving Resolution 2014-11 by title only. A resolution approving two agreements between the City of Lewiston and Idaho Municipal Corporation and Latah Sanitation Incorporated and Idaho Corporation for the provision of composting of biosolids and yard waste, authorizing and directing the mayor and city clerk to execute and attest respectively said agreements and providing an effective date.
Okay, councilors, Resolution 2014-11 has been read. I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2014-11.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there a discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Randall.
I know it was explained in the work session, but maybe we need it explained again, why we're doing two agreements under one vote instead of having separate votes.
Mr. Bennett.
Mr. Roberts, would you like to respond to that? Or?
I'm not sure why they're doing it with two, but you can do it with two if you want, but there's no reason you can't do it with one, as long as the resolution clearly identifies the two agreements.
Okay. That's
Okay with
fine.
that?
I just wanted to explain so people understand.
No problem. That's a good question, actually. Okay. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2011-14, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, next item up is Resolution 2014-19, approving an agreement between the city and Jamie Shropshire for services as city attorney. I'll entertain a motion to read Resolution 2014-19.
So moved.
Do we have a motion to approve? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor of reading Resolution 2014-19, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries 6-1.
Approving Resolution 2014-19 by title only. A resolution approving an agreement between the City of Lewiston and Idaho Municipal Corporation and Jamie C. Shropshire for services as city attorney, authorizing and directing the mayor and city clerk to execute and attest respectively said agreement and providing an effective date.
Councilors, Resolution 2014-19 has been read. I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2014-19.
So moved.
we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there discussion? Counselor Daniel.
I move we amend the contract out in the section called term, that the contract remains in full force and effect until March 12th, 2015.
Second.
In the section under term, add the words, it stays in effect until March 12th, 2015.
March 12th, 2015.
Yes.
Okay.
1 year.
Oh, all right. Okay, so we have an amendment in a second to change the term of the contract to terminate, I guess, or
Well, just that
end
that
date
the
of-
contract expires, and
That contract expires 3/12/15.
I'll speak to my reasoning if you want.
Oh, certainly.
Okay, so the reason why I'm doing this is, and I realize I'm actually, I think when we vote on these employment contracts, and I realize I also voted on Mr. Bennett's contract, and I think it said it had similar language. I just believe in the future, these contracts shouldn't be open-ended. They should have, since we review them every year, they should expire every year, and we can renew it at that point if we want to. Because otherwise, right now, if there isn't an expiration date, we don't even need to vote on this contract because the current contract is still in effect. There is no expiration date in it.
Further discussion? Well then, all those in favor of voting on amendment to the contract to have a, I don't know, what would you like to call it? Expiration date
Yeah, I
of
listed them.
3/12/15?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, then back to the original motion, which is voting on Resolution 2014-19. That entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2014-19 as amended.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes?
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2014-19 as amended.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay. Next up is active agenda item C, which is, if I can find my paper here, bid award, 2 large area motors to RMT Equipment in Lewiston, Idaho, of an amount of $145,000 and $145,244. I'll entertain a motion to approve the bid award.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion?
Yes.
Counselor Blakey.
As far as I'm concerned, we could wrap C and D into one. Mine is more of a general question. Is we put out for bid, and I'm more curious about the process and how well we inform the public of the bidding process, and how I guess the term I want to use is how well does the public know that we're advertising for bids? I'm curious about the bus, which actually would have been the next. May I talk about the bus one?
Let's wait for,
We get to that one?
since we didn't combine them.
Okay. Because my real issue, again, then I go to the bid award on the 2 lawnmowers. $145,000 award, and we just had 2 people bidding on it. And I'm just curious, is it a specific bid that is technical and we can only get 2 possible bidders? Or that's all that was truly interested in it, was just 2 people to bid on a contract like that? 1 local, 1 out of town.
I think that is the likely answer, but our process is to contact as many potential vendors as we possibly can who can provide that particular specific type of mower based on the specifications that we publish and ask them to bid on the job. There are some folks who have done business with the city before and so are probably more likely to submit a bid. But what we got was 2 bids. They were both responsive bids, and we selected the lower of the 2 bids, and that is our normal process.
Can I ask another question?
Certainly.
A follow-on question to that would be, how long is the bid process open?
I don't know. Do you?
Unless there's some reason not to, they're typically open for 2 weeks. But depending if it's technical, they could be open for months.
Okay, so it's variant. I just wondered, does an out-of-town person have time enough to look at it, get it in the mail, get it back, and, with postage and everything?
Yeah, the process, I think, has worked well in the past. We have not had a shortage of bidders particularly on vehicles and equipment purchases that we've made. We do a published notice plus a mailed notice to individual potential vendors that are on our list of people that have done business with the city before. So we feel comfortable with the process, even though I agree with you. We would have preferred to have had more bids.
Mr. Mayor? Certainly.
With the budget impact that $196,000 was budgeted for this purchase, and the fact that it's about $45,000 under, where does that money go back into the accounts to be spent later? Is it saved? Is it future?
The money would come from our fleet account, which is where all of our equipment purchases are made from, for anything from street sweepers to mowers to trucks, pickup trucks, dump trucks, etc. And so those funds could be repurposed for other equipment needs if need be. Otherwise, they would then stay in that account and then become the beginning, part of the beginning balance for the next year.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll just speak to this real quick, since I was involved in bidding on equipment in my previous career with Han Rental. And of course, I was not really allowed to bid on bobcats and backhoes, but was involved in the process quite a few times and saw who the other bidders were and stuff like that. Typically, the bids are fairly specific, especially when it comes to the mowers, large area mowers. There's only a few companies that actually make the things. There's online bidding sources. I did a number of online bids. I actually sold weed whackers to the city of Albuquerque. I think it was a bunch of them, but I think we made $4 a pop, so I don't even know it was worth my time to do. But that's kind of how the bidding process works. When you set a spec, then the bidders come through and they provide what they think meets the specifications of the city's needs, and that's kind of how it goes. So, further discussion? Okay, those in favor of approving bid award for 2 large area mowers, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next up, we have our transportation coordinator coming down. Will be active agenda item D, which is for the 2 transit buses from Harlow's Bus Sales, Olivia, Montana, in the amount of $203,143.88. Ms. Groh.
Hi, Mayor and City Council. Shannon Groh, Transit Manager for the City of Lewiston. This bid was open for about a month. We do a process where bidders can ask questions and ask if we'll take exceptions on bids and things like that. We do that about 2 weeks in. And at that time, we did not have anybody ask us for more time for these bids. So when the bid came, and this was on a Tuesday at 10 a.m., and that's not an unusual time for bids to come in, but we did have one bidder come in person from Montana. We did receive 2 bids after the 10 o'clock opening, and with the city's policy and the fact that we're using federal funds, we cannot accept bids that did not meet the specified time in the RFP. However, with federal funds, I do have to do kind of like an analysis when there's a single bid situation. And because of that, or because of the events that occurred, we have decided that in the future, we'll do them a little bit later in the week and also do them in the afternoons, because one of the bidders said that they sent it, but FedEx couldn't guarantee it before noon. So we decided that in order to help that, this is not their first rodeo, but in order to kind of meet in the middle in the future, we would do that.
I believe you answered my question. I was going to ask about that process, and I know in my business, we frequently would do bids late in the day because it's whatever time the Postal Service arrives, and you want to blame the Postal Service. Checks in the mail. I use that a lot in my business. Checks in the mail. It's the Postal Service's problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, you answered my question there. How did we get to a situation of one bid, two come in late? Did they happen to come in that day, but just after the 10 o'clock?
They did. Yep. Unfortunately, when you are in that kind of situation, though, and especially with federal funds, we must follow what the RFP said or make an addendum. And at that point, to make an addendum that late would not be fair to the responsive bidders.
Councilor Collins?
Just a quick question. I noticed within the budget numbers that a city match that we had budgeted $30,000 for that. Is it possible to reject the bid because the amount actually goes above that $30,000? That the city contribution is supposed to be $34,000 or $4,000 something because it came in at a city match of $34,000 plus?
Yes. In fact, there have been other times when we have bid projects or bid equipment where the bid came in substantially over what we had budgeted. And in that particular case, staff, I believe, recommended directly that the council reject all bids and to start the process over again to see if we could get a better price, which is what happened. So yes, it is possible for the council to do that.
Can I make a comment also?
Certainly.
In this case, you will notice that the staff recommendation is to approve the bid for 2 buses plus 3 options. One of those options is for a driveline retarder, which is requested by fleet maintenance. This allows for buses that are going down steep hills 13 times plus a day to save on the brakes. These systems at $10,000 a piece did put the bid over. So if you wanted to, you could also approve a bid, but not all of the options. It is imperative that we do have bus replacement, but you can consider not funding all the options as well. Is that a fair statement?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Randall.
I think it would be wise for us to consider including that option, the retarder. It's a big savings on brakes.
Yes.
However, we must make sure that we're in compliance with our own statutes as far as the use of retarders. They have to be muffled, that kind of stuff. Because other trucks can't use theirs.
It's the equivalent of a Jake brake.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but on the buses, I think they run differently. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to speak to the technicals. I don't have the fleet people here. Councilor Blakey.
Ms. Groh, what's the average length of the time we keep a bus?
These 2 buses are medium duty. The buses that we currently have are light duty. Those are 5 years. We go by FTA useful life. That would be 5 years or 120,000 miles on the light duty. Medium duty are 7 years, 200,000 miles.
I guess, would we be doing $10,000 worth of brake jobs over 7 years?
That is something that I asked the fleet. They have these systems on some of their other vehicles and really kind of believe in them. I don't really kind of have that conversation with them. This is something they wanted. I will say, though, this is kind of an interesting bit of information that when we did the independent cost estimate for this brake system, we know it as the Telma system. which happens to be a European system. But FTA requires Buy America, that components of these buses be Buy America, and that is why these systems are $10,000 instead of $5,000 to $8,000. Because they're domestic. So, as far as transit's concerned, it is something that saves on the wear and tear of the bus. You're not having to shift down. Is it an absolute necessary thing? As far as transit's concerned, no, it is not.
Mr.
Councilor Collins.
Is it, I haven't seen the other bids, but is it reasonable to believe that if we were to reject this because of being over the budget price, that those two bids that you got in late, we would see those and potentially Harlow's at this point in time?
The other bids were shredded, but the purchasing coordinator indicated to me that one was $30,000 over the bid and the other was $67,000 over. The low bid with the options, comparing same options.
Yeah, and if I may, if we go reopen it, now everybody's dropped their trousers, so to speak, and everybody knows what they're dealing with. So it'd be real easy for the second highest bidder now to come in. That's the problem with bid processes. Time constraints has to be in. That's why they're non-responsive. Responsive gets in there, you know, 'cause all of a sudden they open up the bids and say, wait a minute, no. The guy's changing the number here and comes in 5 minutes later. You know, that's a real slippery slope, I would say. So, further discussion? Those in favor of approving the purchase of the transit buses from Harlow, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Shannon. Okay, moving on to active agenda item E, which is the findings and fact and conclusions of the law concerning approving the findings of fact and conclusions of law and decision for AP 02-13 in Pellinsdale, Benning, and Patrick Lane. I'll approve a motion or accept a motion to approve our findings of fact and conclusions of law, or denial, either one, in AP 02-13.
Move that we approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Randall.
I still have a problem with the way the density is being interpreted on that property, as far as the number of building units they can put on there. And I just have some of the conclusions of law I also had a problem with. The only reason I asked to move it to the active agenda is so as I could get my 6 bits worth in before we voted on it.
No, that's fine.
You know, so anyway, I had voted against it before and I'll vote against it again.
Okay, sir. Further discussion? Okay. Those in favor of approving AP or the findings of fact and conclusions of law in regards to AP 02-13, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries 6-1. That concludes our active agenda.
Pardon me, Mayor, did you want to bring up the issue of the minutes?
I already did.
Well, are we just,
You removed it from the.
we didn't approve them, so what do you want to do with them?
Oh, well, I just wanted them pulled so they could be changed and brought back.
Oh,
Do we
okay,
need to make a
great.
motion on that, or?
No, we just need to know if you have a list of the specific things that need to be fixed.
Oh, no, I guess I can sit down after the meeting and circle every
Sure,
one of
that'd
them,
be
but
great.
sorry, I'm just
No problem.
stickler on grammar and spelling. We good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, on to unfinished new business. City councilor comments. Do we have any councilor comments this evening?
12 o'clock tomorrow noon, high noon, urban renewal. Have an opportunity to review the 2014 draft plan. And hear also the report from the accounting firm.
And location?
Back of the city hall.
Since I went to the Bell Building for the last one.
Yeah, you were lost. But now you're found.
Going along with that, Wednesday night, we have another meeting, follow-up meeting with the county for the area city impact, and apparently discussing potential changes to the boundary and some other design standards. So I just thought I'd let everybody know that. That's at the Bramer Building, 6 or 5 o'clock on Wednesday. Any other council comments? City manager comments. Mr. Bennett.
I just want to make a note that we were talking about the March 17 work session that's coming up. Part of that will be a discussion or a presentation from the Urban Renewal Agency and representative and staff. We will add the issue regarding the indoor firing range per council's direction. But we also have scheduled a preliminary discussion on collective bargaining for that date as well. So we'll have 3 items that are scheduled for that particular meeting. That's because we will be going into negotiations relatively soon with the police, Fraternal Order of Police Union. So this is a good opportune time to sort of start that discussion going.
Certainly.
Okay.
I don't believe the state's taken action on that yet. Their proposed revision to collective bargaining.
Haven't seen anything on it. However, I did hear that there is since we're talking about the legislature, there's a new bill that was just introduced that will address the issue of personal property tax. It just was introduced today, so it will increase the property tax exemption from the first $100,000 of income to the first $250,000 of income. However, it also, as the previous bill did, makes allowance for supplementing the revenue received by urban renewal agencies and local jurisdictions, so backfill the loss in that revenue. No idea, of course, where that's going to go, but it was introduced in the session today.
Okay. Down to advisory board and commission appointments. Do we have any appointments this evening? Have we received any applications for the Solid Waste Advisory Commission?
None that I know of.
Still looking for two. We're still looking for 2 applicants for our Solid Waste Advisory Commission, so if you're interested, please get hold of Carrie at City Hall. Further work session agenda topics? Do we have any tonight?
Mr. Mayor, I have a constituent came up to me regarding inquiring about having chickens, and I know this issue had came up before. Chickens in residential areas. Apparently, there are some areas of town where chickens are allowed, and so I would like to have a work session agenda topic to discuss having, now that we have a new council, having poultry in different residential areas of town.
If I may follow up on that, Mayor Pro Tem. I know that the planning and zoning does have that slated as a work agenda or work session agenda topic coming up soon. So I don't know if you feel maybe it's appropriate to start there. I think they tried once before. I don't have a problem with chickens, but some people had problems with chickens. So I guess, you know.
Right, and there's also been a change on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Certainly.
As well as new members, et cetera, so.
And a change on the council, so. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, and it wouldn't have to be on the very next work session, but, you know, the one after that, I'd like to see it on there, please.
Yeah, and maybe we should get with Joel, too. And we can certainly have it on ours, but I do know that, and I can't remember which item it was that we received from Planning and Zoning, but there was, you know, there's always bleed over from the minutes when they're talking, so the pertinent subject, and I noticed on there was that's slated to be a part of a work session topic. No, it's been brought to my attention many times. I've got a neighbor that's got a bunch of chickens, and my cats sure like going down there and looking at them. There's certainly areas in this town that can accommodate them, and maybe some areas that probably shouldn't have chickens, but I guess it's kind of a vote of the people, too. Councilor Randall.
Make a suggestion, maybe we ask the planning and zoning to send us a recommendation, and then we'll talk about it at a work session.
Sure. Yeah, I don't even know where they've gotten yet on their.
No, no.
Councilor Maldonado.
Just revisiting the tablet, what Mr. Bennett, perhaps what he has found with talking to the Association of Idaho Cities, going and seeing what other councils have done, and just kind of talking about it, just bringing it up even briefly at the next work session.
Okay.
Sure.
That'd be fine. Following up on the technology, which I mentioned the other day, I received an email today from Susan Wing, who is a longtime member of the Planning and Zoning Commission. She sent a email to the city manager and copied it to me, which I've in turn copied to all of you. But from a technology standpoint, I don't know if it's more important on our part to get the tablets or if we move to live streaming of meetings. So it's a budgetary issue. So anyways. Anything else? Well, then we'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.